Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into the channel. I've got a good tip for you today. It's one that goes overlooked quite a bit, but can put a lot of really nice fish in your boat. But before I get into that, I want to remind all of you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. I give away monthly prizes to my subscribers every month. I randomly select some and we give away sponsored products. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already, just to make sure that you are entered into the prizes, especially if you like watching the videos. It just gives you an extra shot at winning a few things. So please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Other than that, make sure you're staying tuned. We got a lot of tournaments starting to come up right now, so we'll have a lot more tournament recap type footage, live tournament footage. So just stay tuned for that as well. And, you know, with some of those tournaments coming up, one of the baits that I'm going to be I'll have tied on pretty much all year long is a buzzbait. I love a buzzbait in early pre-spawn times, and that's what I want to talk about today. So what you'll often find, you know, once the water starts warming up and getting close to the spawn, you know, when you're in that low 50 range, even upper 40 range, if you've got good, stable, sunny conditions, a lot of times what will happen is the fish will move up higher in the water column. They will suspend, they'll do one of two things. They'll move up higher in the water column and suspend closer to the surface where the sun will hit them directly and they can warm up. A lot of times that's what the biggest females will do. The other thing they'll do is move back into some shallow bays where the water temp just is rising significantly quicker than the main lake water. And those fish will get up into those shallow areas because they prefer that warm water. So when that happens, a great bait to target those fish with is a buzzbait. Most people do not think about throwing a topwater when the water could be 48, 50, 52, 54 degrees. You know, most people don't really think about throwing a topwater until you get above 60 degrees. And really, I'm here to tell you that you're missing out on some really good opportunities. Now, it's not always going to happen. You know, it's not an everyday thing. You need a couple of things. Specifically, you need the sun to be out. That's the biggest key that will get those fish to either rise up in the water column or push back into some back bays. And, you know, if a fish is higher up in the water column, they're more likely to hit a topwater. If they're back in some super shallow bays, you know, that are 2 feet deep, well, if that bait's coming over the top of them and their belly's on the bottom, they only got to go 2 feet to get your bait. So it's not, you know, it's not anything crazy for them to come up to hit a topwater when that's the case. So the number one thing you need is sun. The number two thing that you need is just a warm day. The sun doesn't have to be out if it's kind of one of those unusually warm, muggy days. It could be overcast. It could be, you know, a misty day. But if it's a warm day, it could even be a light rain. You know, if you've got a warm rain coming in or warm runoff coming in, that can definitely move those fish up higher in the water column or push them back into some of those bays. So those are the main criteria that I'm looking for. If I've got a, you know, an overcast, cool day, it's not going to do me any good. If I've got a sunny, windy, cool day, it's still probably not going to bring those fish up to the surface, and it's not going to make a buzzbait a good bait to throw. But when you do have those conditions, it can be a really good bite, and you can catch some giant fish. Like some of the biggest fish that I catch all year long are on a buzzbait super early in the year. It works all over the country. I've done it from way down south to all the way up north, you know, right after the ice comes off. You'd be amazed at how cold you can catch some fish on a buzzbait. A couple of other things that I want to point out when you're doing this. One, you want a buzzbait that you can retrieve at a slow pace. You don't want to be burning it. You want to keep it in the strike zone as long as possible. Whether those fish are suspended or back in some back pockets, you still want to you want to give it a slower presentation, because even though those fish are warming themselves, they're still not going to be as active as they would be on a hot summer day. So you want a bait that you can retrieve at a slower speed. My preferred buzzbait is a Dirty Jigs Scott Canterbury buzzbait. That's one. Doesn't come with a head. It comes with a cone collar, and then you slide your bait, your trailer of choice, up over it like that. I personally like it because I don't use skirts on my buzzbait. I prefer trailers. I just think I get better hookups. I think they give me better action, and I just prefer them. Plus, they cast significantly better, especially if you're trying to cast in the tight areas. The plastic trailer will give you a much better ability to cast into those areas because of that added weight versus a skirt. So, you know, whatever buzzbait that you like, you just want one that will ride decent. And really, the key for me comes down to the trailer. You want a trailer that will rise that bait up. You don't necessarily want one that's got a good keel and will not push that bait higher to the surface. So what you're looking for is a bait that's got more of a horizontal body. So, you know, that lays horizontal to the water count, to the water surface. And in this case, like, one of my favorites is the Berkley Pit Boss. And I know I talk about this bait a lot, but it really is an extremely versatile bait. And because it's got more of a horizontal flat body here, when I'm retrieving it, it's actually pushing this bait up. And I'll find that, you know, the bottom of it's got these little ribs. You can see those. Those ribs will also grab water and push the bait up as a whole. And that's what I want, because if the bait is being pushed up, you can retrieve it at a slower speed, which means you keep it in the strike zone for a longer period of time. And if I'm fishing around any sort of isolated targets, I want to make sure that I'm reeling this bait as slow as possible. So whether I'm fishing, you know, docks where the fish are suspended high up under the docks, or if I'm fishing a laydown way in the back of a shallow pocket, I want this thing going as slow as possible through there. The other key that I'm going to tell you about when fishing this, you want to hit the objects. So if I'm fishing that dock and I think there's suspended fish under the dock, I want to hit the dock posts. I do not want to just bring it through the dock. I want to deflect it off something. That really is the key. You know, same thing with a laydown. If I can bring this blade so it hits the laydown at some point and stops and kind of gives it a stutter, that's when you're going to get the majority of your bites. You'd be amazed at how much you clinking that blade off a dock post, or just, you know, bringing it through a tree limb, will trigger fish to bite. That will increase your bites significantly, in my opinion. So you want to do that. The last point I'm going to give you, when you want to go out and do this pattern, another good tip that you can that will key you into this bite is if you see bait fish or like bluegill, little bluegills, or just bluegill in general sitting high up in the water column, that means the bass are sitting high up as well. Bluegill to me are a huge key. I'll do a whole nother video on this, but bluegill, you know, and bass are all part of the sunfish family. So they have a lot of genetic similarities. And if the bluegill are sitting high up in the water column, the bass are sitting high up in the water column, which means that your favorite buzzbait will be a very good bait, especially, you know, when you're talking about cool water temps when other people wouldn't think about it. So don't be afraid to throw a buzzbait. As you know, when water temps are anywhere from 48 degrees and higher, don't think it's got to be warm summer months or, you know, 60+ degree water temp to do it. You'll catch a lot of big fish when it's 50 degrees. Thanks for watching, guys. That's my tip for you today. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you've got comments about, you know, certain trailers you like or other things that clue you into this bite, please leave that comment so that the rest of the viewers can see and learn from your experience as well. And last but least, if you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button like I mentioned earlier, so that you will be entered into the prizes that I give away on a monthly basis. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. Videos every day. We got more good stuff coming out tomorrow. Thanks for watching.